This is for the more sensitive ones who are feeling a fluctuation of energy, emotions, thoughts, and physical sensations. Maybe you've been going through a lot of turmoil and a lot of up and down, death and rebirth, questioning, analyzing, purging, releasing, reflecting, going back into the past, figuring out life, feeling like a new person. And even if you're not sensitive, even if you are still on a path of self-discovery and understanding your deeper self, and also unlocking some of the deeper aspects within yourself, which will activate naturally these cycles of death and rebirth and transformation. But specifically, I want to speak to the last week, which I feel has been very, very transformative. And I feel we are going through something of a very significant change right now. I've been catching your comments, I've been hearing it from other people, and I've been going through it myself as well. And the other day when I was recording the video for the full moon in Sagittarius, I edited out probably an extra 10 minutes on top of what I published. I was stuttering and stammering and I couldn't find my thoughts and I missed out so much information, and I apologize for that. And truthfully, I feel coming into alignment with my voice, or becoming comfortable with my voice, has been the greatest challenge I've had to work through. There's a lot of history with it. There's a lot of trauma with it as well, which, thank you for being patient with me, by the way, because it's a massive exercise for me. It's a massive process that I have to go through, and I have to go through this because I want to. And the more change I go through when I have these moments of uncertainty, questioning my path, questioning my work, questioning what I'm doing and who I am, even through those periods of questioning and doubting, I go through a shift. And even if you are not sensitive and feeling, super sensitive and feeling the energies and the fluctuations of what we're experiencing from an energetic standpoint, if you are still going through change within your deeper self, questioning and analyzing and seeking and searching within yourself, peeling back the layers, you'll naturally uncover these moments of turbulence, of questioning yourself, questioning your path. And that is the unfolding of peeling back these layers of what has been constructed that no longer serve us, that are no longer part of who we are and no longer part of our story. Then the next question is, well, who am I? Who am I, and where am I going, or what is my path truly? And that's the secret. This is the mystery. And I even wondered yesterday, I was questioning this very thing of who am I? And I don't really know who I am, but I know who I'm not. And I feel that's probably the best place to start, is peeling back the layers of who we are not, how we've been functioning, how we've been behaving, what's been familiar, our identities that we've created that just no longer serve. And this whole process of the death and rebirth, these cycles that we're going through, the shedding, the purging, the releasing, the even moments where it may feel moments of psychosis, that is part of the process. And I can guarantee, if I'm speaking to you, you've gone through this, you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about when you go through it, and then you all of a sudden feel like a new person. You have clarity, you have insight, you feel more confident. So I encourage it more and more to go through this. And this is also where the moments where I get most excited, because in my own experience and my own path and what I'm going through, I become clear, I become more confident, because I have my somewhat of a path in sight, or that I'm putting myself on. There's a lot left to the mystery of the unfolding of what's meant to be and how it's meant to happen. And then there's part of ourselves where we're given an opportunity to work with our muscles of consciousness, our aspects of consciousness, to flex those muscles a little bit, to dig a little bit deeper, to make incremental, tiny adjustments, micro adjustments that in the long run will pay off immensely. And I'm talking about those moments where we feel inclined to dip back into what's felt familiar, the patterns, the thoughts, the worry, the fear, the lack of trust, feeling like we can't get out, feeling like we can't see our way or we're lost. Those are our old conditioning and the old patterns that are trying to be released. So we have that little bit of wiggle room that I talk about often, where we have that space in between that we actually, where we can do the conscious work, where we can dedicate our time and effort to the inner practice, to adjusting our patterns and what has felt familiar, and give ourselves a moment to challenge ourselves, to challenge those patterns, to challenge those thoughts, to challenge our old ways, and make space for something different, make space for something new. And it's all new, these new feelings and sensations and aspects of ourselves that we're accessing and that we're tapping into and that we're finding within ourselves. And those aspects I'm talking about are inner truth, our peace, the peace within ourselves, the clarity within ourselves, the inner knowing, the deep truth or the deep feeling and sensation of trust, even though part of us may feel that we can't trust and that we've lost trust. We have those moments, right, where I talk about this often because they're so profound. They're very subtle, but these slivers of light that shine through, that moment of the space in between, or when the dust settles, there's that little bit of clearing, that opening where we can walk through into a new sense of self, a new sense of self that trusts a little bit more, the new sense of self that feels more confident, the new sense of self that is ready to take a step into a new direction, the new sense of self that wants to speak one's truth, the new sense of self that wants to make a change, even if it is a small change. Every tiny little change that we make creates a significant impact in our lives. And I had a nice analogy I'll also send to you here, or speak to. I have a little garden that I've been planting. I've been planting already, but I'm also going to be planting some more seeds. But I transplanted 2 plants of lettuce into a bed from one place to a new place. And in this new place, I watered them, put them in new soil, I got them settled in, nice and cozy, and then the next day they started to, it looked like they were wilting and it looked like they were dying. And I started to panic because I didn't know what was happening. It was really hot, so I thought maybe it was the heat, maybe it was this direct sun, which was really intense. So I gave it some water, gave them some, 2 of them, gave them some water, and left it alone, let them do their thing. The next day, I went outside and they were back to normal. They started to strengthen, they became fuller, and now they're back on track. And that sort of is explaining, it's an analogy of what we can find ourselves going through when we feel that we're dying, when we feel like we're losing ourselves, when we feel like we're being cracked open, or that maybe we're contracting and maybe we're holding ourselves in and becoming really fearful, where we're not allowing room to find natural rhythm with the organic pace and the natural pace. You know, as long as we're feeding ourselves, and feeding ourselves with, could be physical, good food, nutrients, but also mental food, and allowing for time to reveal. And this also goes into the video that I recorded for the full moon in Sagittarius, where I pushed when I shouldn't have pushed. I wanted to get the video out. I had some thoughts in my mind that I wanted to talk about for the video for the Sagittarius full moon. But I pushed too hard when I wasn't supposed to be recording and when I wasn't supposed to be pushing. And therefore I look back and I'm not exactly happy with the video I uploaded, but it's up and I'm sure it's fine, but it's not exactly where I wanted to go with it, or the depth that I wanted to really sink into, and the way I wanted to deliver it. the reason why I'm giving these analogies and these examples is for yourself. If you're experiencing this and you're going through moments of uncertainty, or you feel like you have to push through, or you feel like you need results, or you feel like you need to have certainty, the push right now is, I feel, actually what I need to say, I backtrack that completely. I feel right now, more than ever, it's so important to listen to our bodies and listen to what doesn't feel right on a deep level. There's an old way of working and pushing and striving, and there's a new way that's starting to develop here. And the new way is through really surrender and listening and tuning in. And the more we listen to the rhythm of ourselves and what we're meant to do and what we're not supposed to do, the easier it's going to be on us. And we'll have moments of insight like we've never had before. I've already had that many moments where I wanted to go down a path that was familiar, the old way of working, of how I used to work and how I used to show up and what I used to do. And I would shift a little bit and I would do something different, and I would go off script, if you will, and I would go with the flow, and I would speak differently or do something differently, and it worked out amazing in a way that I hadn't expected. And truthfully, it's a bit of experimentation when we move through this process, but the more you can listen to yourself and tune in, the greater relationship obviously you're going to have with yourself. But you're also going to access a new way of being and working and living altogether. And that's also what is asking for our attention right now, is to look at what hasn't been working, the ways we've been working, the ways we've been living, the ways we've been functioning, the ways we've been feeling. And feeling is okay, but it's looking at the full spectrum of the old self, old patterns, old conditioning, placing a lot of pressure on ourselves to be somewhere in a certain time of our life, having a certain amount of money in our bank account, working 12 hours a day because we feel like that's productive, putting the pressure on ourselves because we feel that means responsibility. These are all the old ways of conditioning that don't work. It feels like it works because we're used to it, but it runs us down. It takes so much away from us, and it creates a very strong detachment from ourselves when we're working that way. And I'm learning this while I'm going through it as well. So I thought I would share it with you. The pause, allow for organic time to do its thing, trust most importantly. And what does trust even feel like? That is part of this big equation, is returning to a feeling and sensation of trust within ourselves and within our body, and a congruence with our whole self and the rhythm of life. Moving back into a very intelligent way of being and a very powerful way of being that a lot of us are starting to only access and understand what it truly means. I'm myself working through it, discovering new insights and aspects and ways and even parts of myself that are starting to bloom, that are starting to, like the plants, thrive and come alive. So be gentle with yourself and listen deeply.